Good morning, Hojo staff, students, and families. We're ready to start our day, so everybody please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Our voices are off and bodies are still. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 10th. And I'm sorry that we missed yesterday. It was sort of a half snow day, but where I live, I had about a foot of snow and couldn't make it in. So we are going to start our week on a Tuesday with announcements. Okay, so Mrs. Neff has a new selection for us in honor of Veterans Day. And this is called This Is My Country, and it is by Dawn Ray and Al Jacobs. And I'm going to play it for you. Hopefully you could hear that, and if your teacher's playing in the classroom, perhaps they can turn it up a little bit. This Is My Country by Dawn Ray, who wrote the lyrics, the words, and Al Jacobs, who wrote the music. And both are American composers. Dawn Ray was born in Washington, D.C., and was a vaudeville performer, which is something we don't hear of much anymore. People, that time is he was a performer who was on stage because we didn't have TV and entertainment like we do. And so he was a performer on stage. And Al Jacobs was born in San Francisco, and he was, by the time he was 13 years old, he was giving music lessons to other people. So he had a long life in music. So This Is My Country, very patriotic song by Dawn Ray and Al Jacobs. And Mrs. Neff says that if you go to Walt Disney, either Walt Disneyland or Walt Disney World, when they have their fireworks show, that this is one of the selections that they play. Now, I've been to Walt Disney World and Walt Disney and Disneyland, but I've never attended the fireworks show. But our sixth graders were going to Florida last year before the pandemic hit, and we were going to go and visit. So hopefully we can one day go to Walt Disney World and listen to This Is My Country with a fireworks show with your whole class once you're in sixth grade. Okay, for art this week, keeping with our theme of patriotism, because tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we remember that it's November 11th, 11/11. So it was the 11th day in the 11th month at the 11th hour that World War I came to an end, and that was considered a terrible world war back then, because at that time World War II obviously had not happened. It wasn't even called World War I. It was just called, it was just the Great War that involved the whole world. But we know that in just a few years later we had another World War, World War II. So our art selection this week in honor of Veterans Day is from Mr. Berg has selected for us Norman Rockwell, who's a very famous American painter. And he painted this selection, which is called Freedom of Speech. Where have we heard that before? Freedom of speech. Right. Our First Amendment rights, right? We've been learning those. So freedom of speech. If you were going to make a painting that was called Freedom of Speech, what would it look like? Think in your mind, what would it look like if you were going to draw something or paint something that was called freedom of speech? Do you have an image in your head of what you might draw or paint? This is what Norman Rockwell painted. And this was painted in about 1943. And Norman Rockwell is a very famous American artist, and his illustrations and paintings have been on the cover of a magazine called the Saturday Evening Post for many years that he was alive. And many of our national treasures, paintings that we will show you this week from Norman Rockwell. So this is what freedom of speech and probably freedom of assembly, right? All these people gathered together. And it looks like this man's going to say something, share his opinions, and people are happy to hear it. So freedom of speech, also painted around the same time that This Is My Country was recorded. And this was just as the European continent was going into World War II, and the whole world was kind of falling into turmoil again. And so these were painted just after we had been attacked by Japan and Pearl Harbor, and just as we are entering into World War II. So those were some things that were happening, and thankfully for our veterans that we were able to prevail in both of those wars. So thanks to them. And so also in theme with Veterans Day, the poem this week is called A Nation's Strength. A nation being a country. What makes a nation strong? And this is a poem by William Ralph Emerson, who is not Ralph Waldo Emerson, the more famous poet of the day. This is his cousin, but this is a really great poem for Veterans Day. So William Ralph Emerson, A Nation's Strength. And what do you think would make a nation strong? He talks about, is it gold, having money, having things? Does that make a nation strong? Or is it the sword? Is it your ability to fight in your defense? Is that all? Or is it pride? Is it something being proud of your country? Does that make your country strong? And he says, he looks at all of those things and he comes up with a different idea. So let's listen to A Nation's Strength. What makes a nation's pillars high and its foundation strong? What makes it mighty to defy the foes that round it throng? It is not gold. Its kingdoms grand go down in battle shock. Its shafts are laid on sinking sand, not on abiding rock. Is it the sword? Ask the red dust of empires passed away. The blood has turned their stones to rust, their glory to decay. And is it pride? Ah, that bright crown, he seemed to nations sweet, but God has struck it luster down in ashes at its feet. Not gold, but only men can make a people great and strong. Men who for truth and honor's sake stand fast and suffer long. Brave men who work while others sleep, who dare while others fly. They build a nation's pillars deep and lift them to the sky. And that is in honor of our veterans, the men, brave men. And now, when this poem was written, it was only men who served in the armed forces, but we have women now. So brave men and women work while others sleep. So while we're asleep, there are people working to defend us and our country, and we honor them. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. So thank you to our veterans. Also, if you go on to our playlist, there is a selection there that has pictures of veterans, of students at our school. So if you submitted a picture to me 2 years ago when we did our veterans concert and our performance at the end of the year, May 2019, I think it was, then you can go and watch that, and all the veterans, all the family members of our students and staff. So that's on the playlist, and there's a lovely song, and it's set to music, the PowerPoint set to music of all our veterans. And we'll renew that because we know we have a lot of new students, and so we must have a lot of new veterans from our families. So we'll update that, but you can go and enjoy it for now. We have no birthdays today, but we did have two birthdays yesterday, which we missed because of the snow. So Ava and Damasio, happy birthday. I hope you had a great birthday and made a snowman or did something fun. Okay, so we've been studying the Bill of Rights. Remember, we just saw this one here, right? Freedom of speech. So let's talk about the First Amendment. Let's say it together. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Third Amendment. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Right? So we started to talk about the Fifth Amendment. Right? So no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment of indictment by the grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces, or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. That was the first part. Then we talked about, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and limb. So we can't be tried for the same crime twice, only once. And this is the part when people say, I'm taking the fifth. This is the part that they're talking about. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So when people say, I'm taking the fifth, it means you cannot be forced to testify against yourself. So the government has to get other evidence. It can't rely on your own confession. And you have to be given your rights. And so when this was, our Fifth Amendment was written, we didn't have something called Miranda rights. That became later and was based on this Fifth Amendment. And so if a person is ever arrested, they have to be told that they have the right to remain silent, right? You don't have to confess anything. So we have that right to not have our words used against us in a crime. So that's another part of the Fifth Amendment, and we'll continue to practice that. So our wreaths are still on sale. They are $20 for the small one, artificial one, $30 for the live, real one. Smells really nice. And we'll be distributing those on December 2nd. So if you would like to, you can order a wreath for your door, a holiday door, or you can give it to a friend or a relative. And the money is going to support our athletics department. In fact, our cross-country team is having their banquet today to complete their fall season. So that's all we have for announcements for today. So let's say our student pledge together. I will do the good, I will learn the true, and I will love the beautiful. And I hope you have a great day today and a great Veterans Day tomorrow.